I wasn't supposed to record this, Keren, but you need to see what they're saying about you. Uncle Raymond's message appeared while I was eating lunch at my desk. I almost ignored it. Then I pressed play. The video showed my parents' dining room from 2 nights earlier, a family dinner I'd missed because of work. Mom was sitting at the head of the table. Keren never does anything unless she's pushed, she said. My younger sister Chloe laughed. She's basically Mom and Dad's 32-year-old worthless burden. Nobody corrected her. Not even Dad. Then Mom leaned back and said, after everything we've done for her, she owes us. Someone off camera asked, then why doesn't she contribute more? Mom answered immediately. Because Keren only thinks about Keren. I stopped the video. Then I opened my banking app. There it was. WALLAC mortgage, $1,850. Scheduled again for Friday. I scrolled backward. One payment. Another. 46 months. Nearly $85,000 of my money had gone toward the mortgage on the house, where my family had apparently been sitting around calling me a burden. 4 years earlier, Dad had lost most of his overtime income. Mom called me terrified. We could lose the house, Keren. I was 28 and finally starting to save seriously for a place of my own. But I couldn't watch my parents lose our family home. I can help temporarily, I told her. Temporary became 6 months. Then a year. Whenever I asked whether things had improved, Mom had another reason they hadn't. Property taxes. Repairs. Groceries. Dad's reduced income. So I kept paying. I skipped vacations. I renewed my apartment lease instead of buying. Every time my own down payment started looking healthy, another chunk disappeared into their mortgage. And apparently, while I was doing that, my family had decided I was the one taking from them. I didn't call Mom. I called Uncle Raymond. Did they know you were recording? No. Send me everything. There was a pause. Keren, that clip wasn't the beginning of the conversation. My fingers tightened around the phone. What happened before it? I think you should hear it yourself. The full video arrived seconds later. Before I could press play, my phone rang. Mom. I stared at her name, then answered in the same voice I always used. Hey, Mom. Hi, sweetheart, Diane said brightly. Just reminding you the mortgage is due Friday. My eyes moved to the scheduled $1,850 transfer. I know. Good, your father and I really depend on you. I know that too. We hung up. I stared at that payment for a long time. They thought I was a burden. They thought I owed them. And they had absolutely no idea Uncle Raymond had shown me what they said when I wasn't in the room. So one question remained. What would happen when the worthless burden stopped carrying them? Thursday evening, I drove to my parents' house like nothing had happened. Mom opened the door wearing the same warm expression she'd always used whenever a mortgage payment was approaching. Keren, finally. She hugged me. I hugged her back. I didn't mention Uncle Raymond. I didn't mention the video. And I definitely didn't mention the words worthless burden. Inside, Dad was watching television while Chloe sat at the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone. Mom immediately started talking about money. You wouldn't believe our electricity bill this month, she said, opening the refrigerator. Everything keeps getting more expensive. Normally, that sentence would have worked exactly as intended. I would have felt guilty before she even asked me for anything. This time, I watched her. Are you and Dad still struggling that badly? Mom stopped for half a second. Of course we are. Then I noticed 2 large shopping bags beside the dining room. The logo belonged to an expensive furniture store. Before I could ask about them, Chloe looked up from her phone. Mom, I found another resort. This one's nicer, and if we book tonight, breakfast is included. Resort. I turned toward her. You're going somewhere. Next month, Chloe said casually. Just a little weekend trip. Mom quickly changed the subject. Keren, your mortgage transfer is still going through tomorrow, right? There it was again. Not can you still help us? Not are you okay financially? Just confirmation that my money was coming. I looked at Chloe. She lives here. Why isn't she helping with the mortgage? Mom's face hardened. Excuse me. I'm asking why Chloe doesn't contribute. Chloe lowered her phone. Mom folded her arms. Your sister is trying to build her life. You're established. For years, I had been trying to build mine too. I just hadn't been allowed to say it. So Chloe gets to save because she needs a future, I said. But I don't. You make more than she does. That wasn't my question. Mom's lips tightened. Then she switched tactics. You know, relatives are starting to notice how little you come around lately. Notice what? She picked up a dish towel and turned toward the counter. Nothing. Forget I said anything. I didn't. I left 20 minutes later. The moment I reached my apartment, I opened Raymond's full video. This time, I started from the beginning. About 3 minutes in, Aunt Melissa's voice came from behind the camera. Doesn't Keren still need money from you sometimes? I leaned closer. Mom didn't hesitate. Constantly. I replayed it. Constantly. My mother had been telling people that I needed money from her asterisk. Suddenly, every strange look from relatives made sense. This wasn't just about an ugly comment at dinner. Someone had been rewriting my entire role in the family. I opened my laptop. Bank statements. Year 1. Year 2. Year 3. Year 4. I downloaded every transfer connected to my parents' mortgage and placed them into one folder. Then I opened my banking app. Scheduled payment, $1,850. My finger hovered over the screen. For 46 months, I had never missed one. I pressed cancel ***. Friday's payment disappeared from the schedule. For the first time in nearly 4 years, the mortgage due date was going to arrive without a cent from me. Friday came and went. No call. No text. For a few hours, I wondered if Mom hadn't noticed. Saturday morning at 8:17, my phone rang. Mom. I answered. Keren, where's the mortgage money? No hello, no asterisk, how are you? Just the money. I had some unexpected expenses, I said. I can't cover it this month. Silence. Then her voice sharpened. What do you mean, you can't? Exactly what I said. But the payment is due. I know. Keren, we depend on that money. There it was again. She didn't ask what had happened to me. She didn't ask whether I was in trouble. She only cared that the transfer hadn't arrived. We'll talk later, Mom. Keren. I ended the call. By Sunday, she decided we were going to talk in front of an audience. We were at a family birthday lunch when Mom approached me with Chloe beside her. Aunt Melissa, Uncle Raymond, and several other relatives were within earshot. Mom didn't lower her voice. I hope you're proud of yourself. Conversations around us slowed. What are you talking about? Abandoning your responsibilities without warning. Chloe shook her head. Typical. I looked at her. She continued. You've always taken more from this family than you give. Several relatives looked uncomfortable. But what bothered me was that nobody looked confused. They'd heard some version of this before. Across the room, Uncle Raymond met my eyes. He said nothing. He knew I had the video. He was letting me decide when to use it. I turned back to Mom. How much money have you given me in the last 4 years? Her expression shifted. What? You're saying I've taken more than I've given, so tell everyone, how much have you given me? Mom glanced around. I don't keep records of everything I do for my children. I do. That silenced her. My bank statements were saved on my phone, but I wasn't ready to show them. Not yet. Then Aunt Melissa spoke. Diane, you told us Martin delayed retirement because Keren still depended on you financially. I slowly turned toward her. What? Melissa frowned. You didn't know. Mom stepped in immediately. This isn't the place. But Melissa kept looking at me. Your mother has said for years that you needed help. Rent, bills, emergencies. She said your father couldn't step back from work because they were still supporting you. Now I understood the looks. The comments. The subtle judgment I'd ignored at holidays. My parents weren't simply accepting my money privately. They had built a public story in which they were supporting me ***. I picked up my bag. Mom followed me toward the door. Keren, don't make this into something it's not. I stopped. I haven't made it into anything yet. Then I left. That evening, my phone rang again. This time it was Dad. His voice wasn't angry. It was nervous. Keren, can we talk privately? About what? A long pause followed. Then Martin said quietly, Keren, your mother didn't tell you what we were doing with the money we saved because you paid the mortgage. I met Dad the next morning at a small coffee shop across town. He was already sitting in the back when I arrived. I didn't order anything. What were you doing with the money? Dad rubbed both hands together. At first, your payments really did save us. I know that. When my overtime disappeared, we were stretched thin. Your mother was scared. So what changed? He looked down. We got used to it. That answer was worse than I expected. Dad explained that once my $1,850 started covering most of the mortgage, money that would have gone toward the house stayed in their checking account. At first, it rebuilt their emergency fund. Then Chloe needed help with her car. Then she had credit card debt. Then came shopping, trips and other expenses. My mind went straight to the furniture bags. The resort. Were you still struggling? Dad hesitated. Not the way your mother made it sound. I pushed my chair back slightly. So while I postponed buying my own home, because I thought I was saving yours, you were paying Chloe's bills. Keren. Yes or no? Yes. I stared at him. And you knew. I kept telling myself you could afford it. I almost laughed. You decided what I could afford. He couldn't look at me. Then I asked the question that had been sitting underneath everything else. Why tell everyone that you were supporting me? Dad exhaled. Your mother was embarrassed. Embarrassed by what? That our daughter was paying our mortgage. So Diane reversed the story. Instead of admitting they depended on me, she told relatives I depended on them. And once people believed that, demanding more from me became easy to justify. They think you delayed retirement because of me. Dad nodded. I leaned forward. When Chloe called me a worthless burden, did you correct her? Nothing. When Mom said I owed you, did you tell them who was paying the mortgage? Still nothing. Dad stared at the table. That was my answer. I stood. No more mortgage payments. His head snapped up. Keren. No emergency transfers either, and I'm not paying anything that ends up covering Chloe's expenses. You need to talk to your mother. No, you need to talk to your wife. Back home, I opened my budget. For the first time, I moved that monthly **1, 850** into a category labeled MY Home. By afternoon, Mom apparently knew Dad had talked. Messages started flooding the family group chat. Then Diane sent a long one. She said her daughter had suddenly abandoned her aging parents after everything we sacrificed for her. This time, I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself line by line. I created one document. 46 transfers. Dates. Amounts. Totals. Mortgage references. Then Uncle Raymond called. Keren, your mother's telling everyone to come over tonight. For what? She says she's going to settle the truth once and for all. Before I could answer, another notification appeared. Mom. I opened it. Asterisk 7 p.m. Everyone will be here. Bring your proof. At 7 o'clock, I walked into my parents' house carrying my phone and one folder. Mom had already started. Aunt Melissa sat near the dining table. Uncle Raymond stood by the window. Chloe was beside Mom, arms folded. Dad sat quietly in the corner. Diane looked at everyone. We sacrificed for Keren her entire life, she said. Now that we're older and need some help, she's decided she's done with us. Nobody interrupted. Mom looked directly at me. Go ahead, tell them I'm lying. I put my folder on the table. I will. Chloe scoffed. Oh, please. I looked at Uncle Raymond. Play the video. Mom's face changed. What video? Raymond took out his phone. Seconds later, Diane's own voice filled the room. Keren never does anything unless she's pushed. Then Chloe's laughter. She's basically Mom and Dad's 32-year-old worthless burden. Chloe stopped smiling. Dad lowered his head. Then came Mom's voice. After everything we've done for her, she owes us. And finally, because Keren only thinks about Keren. Raymond stopped the video. The room went silent. Mom recovered first. So you secretly recorded a private family conversation. I didn't answer that. I opened my folder. You said I owe you, so let's talk about what I've actually been paying. I handed the first pages to Aunt Melissa. They contained 46 transfers. Every month, $1,850. Recipient, my parents' mortgage account. I passed copies around the room. That's nearly $85,000. Melissa stared at the pages. Diane, Keren has been paying your mortgage. Mom's jaw tightened. I continued. 4 years ago, Dad lost most of his overtime. Mom told me they were months away from losing this house. I agreed to help temporarily. Dad finally spoke. That's true. Every face turned toward him. Keren made those payments, he said quietly, every month. Melissa looked from him to Mom. But you told us you were helping asterisk her asterisk. Mom said nothing. So I finished the story she had spent years revering. My mortgage payments freed up money in this house. Some of that money eventually went toward Chloe's car, her credit cards, trips, and other expenses. Chloe immediately looked at Dad. Why are you dragging me into this? Because my money was indirectly financing your life, while you were calling me a burden. I didn't know. You knew I was helping with the mortgage. Chloe's mouth opened, then closed. I turned back to everyone. Mom was embarrassed that her daughter was paying the mortgage. So instead of admitting it, she told relatives that Mom and Dad were supporting me. Aunt Melissa shook her head slowly. You told me Martin couldn't retire because Keren kept needing money. Diane finally snapped. We raised her. Her voice cut across the room. We fed her, we clothed her, we paid for things when she was growing up. She wouldn't even have that career without us. There it was. The real meaning behind she owes us. I looked at her. Raising your child doesn't create a lifetime mortgage contract. Mom stared at me. So that's it, you're going to watch us struggle. No, I'm going to stop financing a lifestyle you can't afford. Chloe shifted uncomfortably. I added, and I'm not covering expenses that free up money for Chloe anymore. Her smug expression vanished completely. Dad stood. Keren. His voice was low. I'm sorry. Mom turned toward him. Martin. No. For once, he stopped her. He looked at me. I'm sorry we took the money after we no longer needed it the way we did at the beginning. But I'm more sorry I sat there and let them call you a burden when I knew you were helping keep this house. Mom folded her arms. Fine, everyone has made their point. Keren can restart the transfers next month. No. She blinked. What? There won't be another transfer. Keren, don't be ridiculous. I'm not negotiating. And I didn't. The following months forced my parents to live on their actual income. Chloe started paying her own expenses. Mom cut back on shopping and other discretionary spending, but eventually the numbers caught up with them. The house was simply too expensive. Several months later, Dad told me they were selling it and moving somewhere smaller. I didn't celebrate. I didn't say I told you so. I simply stopped rescuing them from consequences they had spent years hiding from. The relatives who once believed I was financially dependent on my parents now knew exactly who had been supporting whom. And every month, the $1,850 that used to disappear into my parents' mortgage went somewhere different. My home. Month after month, that account grew. Eventually, combined with the savings I'd managed to protect, it was enough. I bought a modest townhouse in my own name. The first evening there, I sat on the floor surrounded by unopened boxes and looked around at walls that belonged to me. No guilt. No secret obligation. No payment due on somebody else's life. My relationship with Dad remained limited, but we still spoke. With Mom and Chloe, things became distant. Boundaries were much harder for them to accept when those boundaries had dollar signs attached. Uncle Raymond remained one of the few relatives I trusted completely. Months later, Mom called about another family expense. We could really use some help, she said. For years, those words would have immediately opened my banking app. Not anymore. No, I said calmly. You'll need to budget for it. She went silent. And for once, I didn't rush to fill that silence with an apology. For almost 4 years, my family had called me a burden while quietly building their comfort on my bank account. The next mortgage payment never came from me again, because after 46 months of paying for their home, I finally started paying for my own.